Man, this sucks. One of the most annoying things that you can do in life is, surprisingly, nothing. The example that I always think of is like this one Vsauce video where they put Michael in this completely blank room for 3 days straight, and he just goes mad because there's nothing to do. But even when you have something productive to do, like work or study, it is so easy to just fall into this mind state of, I'm bored. And when you're there, like, what do you even do about it? Obviously, nowadays your phone's just an arm's length away. But there was a time not too long ago where endlessly scrolling down the algorithm wasn't really an option. And oh man, was it a brutal time. It was the time of these things here, which some of you will instantly recognize, and then there will be some others who'll be like, what's with the squares and the holes in the brown box? Well, let me give you a little insight as to how what worked when I was growing up. Let's say you're going on vacation. That's pretty exciting, right? Well, for about 30 minutes before you realize you still have 7.5 more hours of driving to go, and staring out the window is getting pretty boring by now. So, what do? Get on your phone? Well, those weren't really around yet. Watch a movie on your laptop? What do you think I am, rich? Listen to music on your iPod? Man, I just told you, I don't have that much pocket money. Seriously, if you wanted to entertain yourself, you pretty much had 2 options: comics and travel games. These things right here are small little games that were specifically designed for you to play on the road. Like, they would contain all the pieces and instructions that you may need in order for you to play them in the palm of your hand. Like this right here is a little robot puzzle game where you have to move the robots around so that you can get the red guy right here into the center. And then this right here is an entire miniature chess kit where you would be able to like play a game of chess with whoever you were traveling with. And one thing that you see right here is that it has all these holes right here, and every single piece has like a tiny little pin, such that you wouldn't lose your entire game's progress if you were to say enter the Belgium roads. Overall, these travel edition games were quite fun and entertaining for a little while. But then there was the holy grail of travel entertainment, one that only a select few of your classmates had access to: handhelds. These little gaming devices were the absolute cream of the crop when it came to travel entertainment. Because unlike these little games right here, which would only have like one specific game that could only be played in one way, these things just had entire worlds inside of them. Like Mario Brothers, Pokemon, and even one of my favorite games at the time, Lego Star Wars. Owning one of these handhelds could just brighten up your journey so much for about an hour or two, because that's how long the batteries lasted, in a world with no USB chargers and power cords that looked like this. So whatever electricity you had in your device when you went away, that was the amount that you had to do with for the entire trip. So yeah, better go turn down that volume on the speakers, because we don't want the sound to be eating away our very precious electricity. It did go to show that these handhelds were really fun, but in a sense they were also just supercharged travel games. Look at this travel edition chess piece right here. Now let's look at a real chess piece right here. Do you notice a difference? Now let's take a look at handheld Lego Star Wars and real Lego Star Wars. Notice a difference? I mean, sure, this right here is in fact Lego Star Wars and it plays fine, but we all knew that a handheld game could never really compete with the experience of playing on a console. Until one day, a handheld was released, which, for the very first time, made it seem like it could actually stand on its own and deliver you a console-like experience in the palm of your hand. The PS Vita. This right here was Sony's answer to Nintendo's absolute domination with the Nintendo DS. When everyone had one of these, Sony wanted to make the follow-up to their PSP, which was supposed to be the PS Vita. This thing was absolutely not a success at all. It sold about 16 million units during its lifetime, but then you gotta keep in mind that the follow-up from this one, like its direct competitor, that sold about 76 million units. At least it did better than the predecessor, or did it? Because the PSP sold 81 million units. Oh, but never mind this, it all pales in comparison to the Nintendo DS, which sold 154 million units. Oh boy. So then, what's going on with this thing? Did I just make you sit for that entire backstory just to talk about some mediocre device? Well, yeah. Somewhat. Sony did just completely give up on making handhelds after this thing because nobody was interested. However, I don't really think that that's because this device was so bad, but rather that when this thing came out, these things were also coming out. Why buy a console for a couple $100 where you also have to buy games for $60 each when, you know, you can also just download games on your phone for free? It was because of that very reason that I never got one of these brand new, nor did I get the 3DS. It was only like years later that I got this PS Vita secondhand because I had some creator recommend me Persona 4 Golden as a brilliant game to play on one of these consoles. And when I picked this thing up one day before my vacation, oh boy, was I in for a treat. The very first thing that I noticed when I got this in my hands was just how it feels. It just feels so freaking nice. The PS Vita kind of sits in between a regular handheld and a controller. Like, if you look at a controller, which molds towards your hand, you can very easily click the buttons, and then your top fingers, like, press these bumper buttons right here very, very nicely. With a Nintendo DS, like, if you're trying to position your hands on here, like, where do they go? Like, you kind of cradle it like this, but then you kind of have to hold it up like that, and then you have to force your like fingers on these tiny little shoulder buttons, for which there's also like barely any space for your finger to click when the screen is open. So it's definitely not as nice an experience as it is to like hold the controller right here. But then you pick up the Vita and like you hold it like this, and naturally you already go into this position where your thumbs go on the buttons right here, and your fingers right here click on like the shoulder buttons just in the same way as a controller would. Like, that's so cool. And then you look at these shoulder buttons and they're like see-through plastic, which is like, I just love the design of this, and like they have such a nice clicky feel to them. It's like, I immediately just wanted to start playing a shooter with it. Also because this thing has dual joysticks. Oh man! Back in the day, having joysticks was something that was just for consoles. You never had it on any handhelds. Like Nintendo DS didn't have it, the Game Boy didn't have it. It wasn't something that people could get right, and even today, Nintendo still can't really figure out how to make these really small, tiny joysticks because they'll get stick drift and all that sort of stuff, which is why, like, I feel this is pretty much like in between a handheld and a controller. However, a controller is only one part of a console experience, which means that so far, yeah, it's nice to hold, but it doesn't really do anything revolutionary. You know, this right here is a 12-year-old device, and I was fully expecting this to be kind of like the Nintendo DS. Like, you know, it's gimmicky, it's fun, there's some fun games on there, but it will never really compete to our modern day smartphones because, you know, what do smartphones have? Like, they got cameras on the front, they got a touch screen, they got a nice, beautiful looking screen. The Nintendo DS is definitely a very brilliant handheld, but it's definitely getting there in age. Which is also what you would expect from the PS Vita, because when this came out, I think that the Samsung S4 hadn't even been released yet. So that's where we are with mobile phone technology, where this phone right now already feels old. So, you know, I wouldn't really be expecting much for a handheld device. Oh, look. There's a camera on the back, but there's also a camera on the front. The camera isn't great, but at the same time, like phone cameras around this time, especially the front camera, which we're looking at right now, like they weren't great either. One thing that these Samsung phones have always had is like an OLED screen, which means that it has a special like screen technology, which makes the blacks like appear a lot blacker, like the colors pop a lot more, which I also believe is why Samsung just did so well, because their screens just look so nice to use. So this is definitely not something that you'd be expecting on a handheld console, right? Oh boy, that looks nice. Too bad it isn't a touchscreen though. Oh, it's a touchscreen! This was insane! Here I'm expecting this to be some sort of old 12-year-old device, some like old handheld that everyone had forgotten about because, you know, mobile phones came in and they had better screens, they had touch screens, and, you know, handhelds just couldn't keep up. This thing has it all! It has Wi-Fi, it has Bluetooth, it has the touchscreen, and let me tell you, it doesn't just have one touchscreen. Boom, boom. This right here is actually a touch input interface that you can use to play around with in games. It is insane like how much this feels like a modern device. But hey, let's not sing its praises too much. At the end of the day, this thing didn't really sell well, and there was a whole bunch of good reasons for this. Obviously, you have that this right here isn't as powerful as your smartphone. You also have like a stupid proprietary charger, which just sucks so much because if this cable breaks, like where are you gonna find another one? In order to like use the system, you also need to have storage, which was right here, which very much looks like a micro SD sized little card right here. Put them side by side, you can see that Sony has made this just enough different that they can sell this at like an insane price, and you can't just put in any off-the-shelf micro SD card. But what is it like to actually play on? Well, let's start out with the very first game that I played on the system, Persona 4 Golden. Kind of a small cartridge in compared to the entire box that you get for it, but hey, at least you still get a box. Freaking modern gaming online. Alright, so once you have the cartridge installed, it will like load up a bit, and then right here you will see Persona 4 Golden. As you can hear, like, this is pretty damn loud. This is the loudest it goes. I don't know if I'll get in copyright trouble, so I'm gonna lower it down. But as you can see, you have quite a lot of control on the sound. I love forward-facing speakers, which nowadays on phones you just don't get anymore. But yeah, as you can see, the screen right here, it just looks so good. Now, Persona 4 Golden is like a role-playing game, which means that you play as a character and you go for a story. Basically, you have two types of games. Number one is that you have like this murder mystery that's going on, and you have to solve like who does the murders and stuff. And you do that with a whole bunch of people that you meet at high school, like, hey, you know, I guess I'm not feeling too well, man. It's been a long time since I've played this game. But yeah, you can get to know these characters right here, and all these characters are quite well written. But then, like, the murder mysteries aren't just murder mysteries. Like, there is also some, like, fantasy stuff involved. Like, basically, it is the work of demons. It kind of becomes this Pokemon-style game where you have to fight these monsters right here. And yeah, you have, like, an entire team where you can, like, go and fight this with different style abilities and stuff. So, I guess it's, like, attack it like that. And there you go, we're beating them, because honestly, I'm max level in this. This is perfect for just playing on like an airplane, playing while you're traveling. You know, you can just do a little bit of dungeon exploring while you're traveling around, but then let's say, you know, a boarding call comes up. Click it, it puts it on standby, you can put it away, then you come back to it, you do that, bada bing, bada boom, you're back in the game. I really, really love that. It's a very simple like standby feature, which the Nintendo DS also had, but just to be able to very quickly just pause your entire game, go focus on what's happening, and then move back to it, that's something that I'm not really used to when I'm playing on the PC. Now, I also really wanted to try and play a shooter on this thing because, you know, of the dual joysticks that instantly reminded me of like playing Call of Duty and the bumper buttons on the back. So this right here is Call of Duty Black Ops Declassified, which is like a special Call of Duty game on the Vita. And honestly, you can kind of tell that this is a handheld game and not entirely the console level when you start playing it, but like, this is a Call of Duty game on a handheld, and honestly, it feels instantly like the console version. It just shoots sort of the same. It even has a multiplayer, which is oftentimes like the best part of Call of Duty. Now, I don't know if this still works, so I'm gonna try and just like host up the multiplayer, see if like it does something. But I remember back in 2018, there were still people playing this. Oh my God, it's found a match! All right, so here we go. We're here in Nuketown. There he is. There we go, we got him. But it wasn't a real Black Ops. What if you wanted to play a real Call of Duty? This right here is Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, my favorite Call of Duty of all time, which was played on the PlayStation 3. Now, this right here is something that's called remote play, which means if I have my PlayStation running right now, I can connect via the internet to this thing right here, and I can play this on the PS Vita. Unfortunately, I can't entirely play this game right here, because some games like you could not play through remote play, but I could, for instance, like fire up like God of War right here. I mean, this right here is only a PlayStation 3 game, and you know, I have to be connected to the internet and have my PS3 running at the same time, but you can. But then, are you only limited to PlayStation 3 games? Let's see what this thing does. It says PS4 link. And now we're playing Horizon Forbidden West, which was one of the flagship titles of the PS4. Can you believe it? Like, this is the actual dream come true. Playing current gen AAA games in your hands. And like, all the controls feel so similar because again, this thing feels like a controller. Now, naturally, this doesn't really work with every single game. If you were to play something like Apex, I mean, you do have some lag and it's not really nice for competitive shooters, but certain types of games are just so freaking nice. Oh man, like, look at that. Look at this. It's on a handheld! I mean, like, this thing still has its flaws. Like, it's still a handheld, the game's on here, like, the library is not that big. They kind of removed some things with the PlayStation Store, because they're kind of, like, trying to put this away, just like the PS3. Basically, Sony doesn't want anything to do with this anymore, just like it doesn't want anything to do with handhelds anymore, because, well, you know, they've been burned. Like, they say that there's no demand for this anymore, because everyone's playing on their phones, and I get it, you know? It's a big investment to ask for people to, like, go buy a handheld when they already have their phone. However, I much rather play on something like this where I have actual controls than play on something like this where there's no controls at all. And in a way, we're having this dream unfold for us right now, where our technology is catching up, that, you know, the things that we need to play good looking like HD games, like you can kind of put that in something handheld, pocketable. Though I don't know if the Steam Deck is that pocketable because I don't have that one yet. However, I do really want to get my hands on one. That said though, the PS Vita will always be the console that really lit the spark for me. Like, it really made me believe that this was possible for the first time, and I never really knew about it until I just happened to pick one up. So that's kind of why I want to share this right here. If you come across one of these, like get your hands on one of these and just see what it's like. I hope you guys enjoyed this look right here at the PS Vita. If you enjoy what I do and you want to support my content, why not check out Overtime, which is my extra show right after the main video where we do a little bit extra for people who are supporting me via either Patreon or Twitch or YouTube. For $1 a month on whatever platform you like, you get extra little videos, which hopefully will be worth it. Because today, what I want to do is I want to try and mod this PS Vita. We may actually be able to like put one of these things in, which allows me to put in a micro SD card, where right now I have a 256 gigabyte micro SD card, and you know, unlocking this thing right here hopefully will allow me to do more with this. One thing I do still want to say before I end this video is like, thank you guys so much for the support recently. I know I haven't really posted all that much in the last month. That's because basically March was a really good month for the channel. I don't think I've gotten that many views and subscribers in such a long time. It's been insane. But yeah, that meant that I could invest back into the channel again, so this time I upgraded the streams, which was a lot more work than I expected it would be, but I think it looks pretty damn cool, even though the first one kind of failed, as you saw. But I have a lot of faith in this, and yeah, the more you guys support me, the better I can make my videos and streams. So I just want to say thank you so much to you and everyone right here, every one of these bloody wonderful freaking members here. Also, Efim, thank you so much for your exceptional support. In the live streams, like Efim came freaking through and gifted like 100 memberships, and I'm just like, I really appreciate it. You guys make it possible for me to like do all this stuff. Final thing that I do want to note is that now that I'm streaming here on this channel, it may be that more people feel inclined to gift memberships here on the channel, which means you can get access to like all this overtime stuff for completely free. However, unlike Twitch, where you can just gift anyone a subscription, here on YouTube, like basically you have to opt in to receive gifts, which is really weird. So just make sure that you go to the join button underneath here. There's like these little free tiny dots where you can click on, and then it says like opt in to receive gifts or something. There's like this gift option. Make sure you enable that, because I think that the theme gifted like 100 memberships, but only 97 of those memberships could be claimed actually, because of the 600 people or so people that are subscribed to this channel, I think only a really small percentage has actually accepting gifts enabled. Like I didn't have that on any of my channels because I didn't know that was a thing. Sorry if that was a little long in the end of the video, but you know, we just got memberships and we had this entire weird thing with like memberships, gifting, and that sort of stuff. I hope you guys like this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.